Welcome everybody to the very first episode of Nerd Generation. I'm your host Pablo. I'm just gonna come right out and just tell you guys the top 10 perfect films. I want you guys to sort of see where I come from and what era I come from, what kind of stuff I like to listen to, what kind of stuff I like to watch. And these are not ranked from worst to best or whatever. These are just 10. First Blood. First Blood is a movie that I'll watch anytime it's on. If I'm flipping through channels and I see the title and the guide, I'm going to go see First Blood. That movie, that last scene was just amazing. That last scene was just amazing. Where when he's talking to General Troutman, General or Colonel? General. Yeah, when he has that conversation with General Troutman, that was an intense scene. You know what scene I'm talking about.
It's over, Johnny. It's over!
Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off! It wasn't my war. You asked me, I didn't ask you.
And it was just a movie about a dude, coming back home from Vietnam, having some crazy stuff happen to him. And he just came back home and he was just looking for a place to eat, and things got rough and stuff sparked his PTSD up and he went on a rampage. And it was a dope movie. It was just a fantastic film. I don't find anything wrong with that film. It's a perfect film for me. Number 2, Coming to America. This is a classic, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, because Arsenio Hall made that funny too. Arsenio Hall killed.
And I want you to hold on to God's unchanging hand, because he helped Joshua fight the battle of Jericho. Yes, he helped Daniel get out the lion's den. He helped Gilligan get off the island. Lord.
There isn't anyone that will disagree with me when I say this. Every scene was memorable. Every character was memorable. Many of them played by Arsenio Hall and Eddie Murphy. I think it was just brilliantly directed. The guys that created Coming to America and were able to produce a performance from each of the characters that was satisfactory to them in order to give us that film is just an amazing feat. That movie is a perfect film. I know Coming to America 2 is coming out, and I hope it lives up to that film. But to me, in my opinion, some films are you just gotta leave it alone. And if you're gonna do it immediately, not wait like 20 years. But hopefully they can make it work, man. Let's see, because obviously we got Terminator 2, years down the line, and it was dope. So hopefully they can bring back that magic. Number 3, The Crow with Brandon Lee. That movie is just another film, man, that I didn't find anything wrong with it. The performances were great. Ernie Hudson was there, and he was just a cop. All these things were believable, each of these characters, except for the main villain. He was probably a little bit over the top, but there's probably dudes out there like that. But that was a dope film, man. Brandon Lee was coming up on that one, and unfortunately, we all know what happened there. But that's definitely a film that I would see if it's on. I'm watching. Number 4, The Matrix. Do I need to continue? Classic. The original Matrix film was a classic. It changed everything. After that movie, the special effects of other films started getting up a notch because they had to compete with something like that. Everything else was a derivative from The Matrix. So if you haven't seen The Matrix, for the young guys that are out there, if you haven't seen The Matrix, that is a film you cannot sleep on. Number 5, The Winter Soldier. Listen, I loved Infinity War. I loved Endgame. I had my issues with them. I did not have an issue with The Winter Soldier. It had all the elements, drama, humor. It just had it all. That's why you believe Chris Evans is Captain America. That's why you believe that, what's his name? Stan, forget his name. You believe he was the Winter Soldier. To me, he reminded me of the Terminator. Was going about his business and his mission. Nothing was going to stop him. To me, that brought back that feeling of when I first saw the Terminator. Number 6, Predator. Arnold Schwarzenegger's performance in Predator was perfect. The characters there, you remember all of them. Jesse Ventura, Mac, Come on, who's gonna forget that scene?
Long tall Sally. She's built sweet. She got everything that Uncle John needs. Oh, baby. Baby. I gotta have me some fun. 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 I gotta have me some.
He got two scenes that are dope. Not in Predator, but one in Predator and one in Menace to Society. Everybody know who. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Kudos to the director and the writers of that film, and brought out the performances of those individuals for that film. Number 7, Conan the Barbarian, man. I don't remember a lot of dialogue in that thing. James Earl Jones was in that film, and he's amazing in almost everything that he does. That guy. Yeah, I don't remember any dialogue in Conan the Barbarian. It was simple revenge film. You believe what was going on there when you were watching it. It took you there. That's one of the things about perfect films and great films in general. They take you there. I'm sure there was, but I just don't remember it because there was just so much silence, too much in between. You know what I mean? I know Jason Momoa did a Conan the Barbarian film. That didn't go anywhere. Hey man, sometimes you gotta leave the classics alone, man. Number 8, 12 Angry Men. I was introduced to this film when I was going to college, and I think we had a class on critical thinking. And this was an old film, it was a black and white film, and it was just fascinating to see 12 men go into a jury room, listen to all the testimony. You don't get to see all the testimony or anything like that. They just go into the deliberation room to talk about the case and to come up with a verdict. All of them were in favor to convict the teenager of murder. And one didn't quite buy it, that based on the testimony that everything was as it was presented. So he was able to, one by one, change everyone's mind and arrive at the truth. And it was just amazing to watch and how he was able to do that. Definitely watch 12 Angry Men, the original black and white. Number 9, The Usual Suspects. Listen, The Usual Suspects, if you ever saw The Sixth Sense, at the end of that film, you were like, oh, that's The Usual Suspects. That feeling like, oh, snap. The Usual Suspects is just one of those films that you pay attention to, because each character is very unique and very memorable. And Kevin Spacey, he did an amazing job, and everybody else in that, Benicio del Toro, Gus. And number 10, Grease. Fun film. The performances were great. The songs were great. The choreography was great. Grease always stands out to me as one of the best musical films that I've seen in my lifetime. Grease 2, I saw Grease 2. When I was a kid, I watched Grease 2. And it was cool too. You know, I watch it again now. Grease 2 is a horrible film. No wonder Michelle Pfeiffer doesn't want anything to do or have any association with that film. Grease 2 was horrible. It had its moments. I think I know it because I watched it so many times when I was a kid. Grease 2 was horrible. But Grease, the original Grease, was a perfect film for me. Some honorable mentions. Listen, Rocky 3 for me was dope. Mr. T, that was Rocky 3, man, that's one of my favorite films. I'm appalled that Clubber Lang hasn't been in any of these films that they've resurrected with Creed, because he was the best part of Rocky 3. I'll tell you this, Mr. T stole every scene. Terminator 1, Terminator 2 were obviously great films, but I didn't want to put 4 joints of Arnold Schwarzenegger in the top 10. That's just too much. Those are great films that you might even consider them perfect. Thank you very much for joining me today on Nerd Generation. I'm going to talk about news. I'm going to give you my opinion on stuff. I'm going to make some predictions. Who would have thought we would have got an Infinity War, man? How? I don't want to digress into that because they're a subject of future shows that I definitely want to talk to you guys about. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, share with your peoples who, you know, sort of like talking about the same stuff, and let's start this community up, man.